This is the Pixel Fold, and it's not very good. Chunky bezels, heavy, terrible specs, crap cameras. But what it does have going for it is this passport style design. It's a lot shorter, a lot stumpier than the other taller foldables. This is the Samsung Galaxy Fold 7 in comparison. You can see it's much taller, a little bit narrower. Now the benefit of this passport style design is that when you open it up, you have a wider screen, ideal for having two apps side by side and also for watching TV shows, movies, because you don't have that really chunky letterboxing at the top and bottom. Now, if we were to combine the Pixel Fold with the iPhone Air, we may end up with something that looks a bit like this. This is what we think the iPhone Ultra, aka the iPhone Fold, will look like. Apple's first folding phone. And to be clear, nothing is confirmed. This is all based on reports and rumors and some dummy units, some case manufacturer specs, and a little bit of imagination as well. So pinch of salt, the usual thing. But if we don't see this iPhone Ultra at least announced alongside the iPhone 18 series by John Turnus, who of course will have replaced Tim Cook by the time this comes around in September, I will, well, I think eat my hat is a bit cliche. I will give away an iPhone Ultra when it does eventually launch. I might do that anyway, but if we don't see it in September, I will be very surprised. Or maybe not that surprised, because as I'm editing this video, I've just come across some reports that suggest issues with the hinge have come up after extensive folds and unfolds and testing of the durability of the phone, so that could actually stall the rollout of Apple's first foldable. Either way, they're going to do it right and we'll get there soon enough. So it's coming. It will fold. It will be very expensive. But what else do we know? Well, from these renders and mock-ups, there's definitely a design inspiration from the iPhone Air, particularly with the camera bar. But to keep this thing thin and light enough that you actually want to use it, unlike a certain Vision Pro, they've had to make a few compromises. Number one, there is no telephoto camera. I mean, it's actually quite impressive we even get the ultra-wide, given the iPhone Air only has the main camera. So I'd expect to see a dual 48 megapixel camera setup on the iPhone Ultra. So no telephoto zoom lens, which is fine. We can live with that. Although, don't forget, rivals can do it. Triple setup here on the Fold 7 and most other 2026 flagship foldables. More surprising, though, is the report that they may actually ditch Face ID in favor of Touch ID, which we haven't seen on an iPhone in years. Although, of course, the iPad Air does still use Touch ID. They've built it into the power button. But considering this is Apple's first generation foldable device, and also they want to keep it as thin and as light as possible, I think that's a reasonable compromise. I actually really don't mind Touch ID. To be fair, even the iPhone Air manages to squeeze in the selfie camera and the 3D depth sensor enabling Face ID, but the iPhone Ultra, if the rumors are to be believed, will be even thinner than this. Unfolded, the Ultra is expected to measure around 4.5 millimeters, which is very impressive, although just a hair thicker than the current Galaxy Fold 7, with a 5.5-inch screen on the outside and a 7.8-inch screen on the inside, meaning you're not far off having an iPad mini folded up in your pocket. So the priority here, like with the original Pixel Fold, is about comfort, pocketability, and also a better inner screen tablet experience, at the cost of having a smaller cover screen. Which, to be fair, has pros and cons, but it is also going to be fun to see something a little bit different than the current crop of basically copy and paste Android foldable phones. You've got the Fold 7, the Oppo Find N6, the Honor Magic V6, all fantastic, but all very similar. Although, maybe while the Android competition's got a little bit samey, it is because we've had, well, by the time the Ultra launches, 8 generations of Galaxy Fold. They have refined, iterated, and made foldables much better than they were a few years ago. And with triple camera setups, IP68, even 69K durability ratings, and almost creaseless displays, particularly on the Oppo and the Honor, Apple really does have its work cut out to compete with these flagship Android foldables. It's also expected to come in just 2 colors, a silvery white and possibly a deep blue, similar to the iPhone 17 Pro. Although, if the rumored dark cherry burgundy color of the upcoming 18 Pros turns out to be real, which I hope it is, maybe that could be an option for the Ultra as well, but we'll have to see. So what is going to make the iPhone Ultra stand out and make you want to spend an awful lot of money? Well, I think there's 3 key things. Obviously, it runs iOS. It is part of the Apple ecosystem. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of merge iOS on the iPhone and iPadOS. Because remember, currently on iPhones, you can't split screen apps. You can't have two apps side by side, which of course you can on the iPad. It's going to be really fascinating to see this convergence of iPhone and iPad in one device. Then there's the form factor, that passport style design, which we just don't see very often with foldables these days, which I'm really excited for. I think it makes a much better viewing experience for TV shows, movies when open. Great for having two apps side by side, which I think for most of us is all we want. Having 3 or 4 and a floating app window on some of these rivals is more than most of us ever actually want or need, but it also means the front cover screen is going to be a bit shorter, meaning it'll be a lot easier to use one-handed. To me, this seems like the correct way to make a fold. The screens, the displays, which we'll come back to in a second, and also the performance. This is expected to be powered by Apple's latest A20 Pro chip, which will be their first 2nm architecture. Currently we're on 3nm. Smaller the chip die size, it means you get better performance. We're expecting up to sort of 15%, 20% faster, but crucially, much better efficiency, potentially up to 30% better efficiency versus the current A19 series. So it will be faster, it will have better thermals, which is very important for a ultra-thin foldable chassis, and crucially, it'll be more efficient, so you'll get longer battery life. And I'm actually pretty excited about the battery life because combined with the 2nm chip and also Apple's C1X and N1 chips for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, the modem, if the reports are true, we're expecting the largest battery we've ever seen on an iPhone, around 5,500 milliamp hours, which is even more impressive given Apple usually has the smaller battery capacities compared to the rivals because they're able to eke out every little bit of juice, squeeze out every little bit of juice from the battery because obviously they make the software, they make the hardware, they have that level of efficiency that no one else does throughout the phone. It'll also be really cool to see MagSafe built into the iPhone Ultra, which you'd think is a given, Apple, iPhones, MagSafe. But firstly, the iPhone 16e didn't have it, but also you have to literally put the magnets in the chassis to be able to use it with magnetic accessories without a case. And a lot of rivals have to use cases because they basically haven't found room to put the magnets in the actual phone. So it seems like of course it'll have MagSafe, but that's actually a pretty mean feat to be able to include it in the size of the Ultra. What I also think is going to set the iPhone Ultra apart are the displays. The 5.5-inch cover screen, the 7.8-inch tablet inner screen. By itself, not very exciting, but when you combine it with Ceramic Shield 2, which I'm sure they'll use, this is the 17 Pro Max, and in fact all the iPhone 17s have Ceramic Shield 2, this is pretty banged up. I've not taken the best care of this 17 Pro Max, but what I will say is that the screen has no micro scratches at all. And it also helps reduce reflections a little bit. So Ceramic Shield 2, but also Apple have been working on this for a long time. And as we've seen with the latest Honors and Oppos, where they have basically creaseless creases, they are still there, but it's much harder to see. Given everything we've been hearing, hopefully the iPhone Ultra's crease will be almost invisible as well. Of course, all this is not going to be cheap. We're expecting the iPhone Ultra to cost about $2,000, $1,999, making it about $800-ish more expensive than a 17 Pro Max, which is a lot of money, especially when it's going to start with 256 gigs of storage. 512, a terabyte, you're pushing it close to $3,000. But that is on par with the Android competition. It will not be for everyone, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't excited for it. Anyway, we will know more in September. In the meantime, let me know what you think of the iPhone Ultra. Would you be tempted to pick one up? Is it going to be dead on arrival? Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button because I'll have full reviews, unboxings, all that good stuff when it comes out. And I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.